Hi, this is Brandon Swilly from thirstgym.com. Today we're talking about an exercise called the Cambered bar squat versus chains. It's a fantastic squat variation you can use to develop the strength of your squat, or overall just keep your low back and shoulders feeling relatively healthy. So let's talk a little bit about the cambered bar and the setup and kind of what we get from it, and then how we got the chains on here and all that kind of stuff, how we might program it. So the cambered bar is a specialty bar designed to challenge your trunk and midsection and your upper back, and overall just the stability of your squat. It oscillates back and forth while you're using it. Now, generally, because of where the weight is loaded, so on the sleeve down here, the weights are technically below where they would normally be on a regular barbell. That would make the exercise actually easier, but because of the oscillation, it actually will be more difficult. So if you can't stay good, strong, and stable, the bar will oscillate a little bit, it'll start to throw you forward, and then it's going to challenge your back even more. So really it's going to teach you how to stay tight, but at the same time, keeping your shoulders and everything feeling really good. So I've got this here in our monolift, and I think this is fantastic for what we said in terms of building the stability and overall trunk strength of your squat. But by adding the chains, we're going to have the weight deload a little bit in the bottom, which is, again, is going to give us a little bit less load in the bottom of the squat. At the top, it's going to let us overload it. I do think the chains are nice because the oscillatory effect of the bar still stands there. Now, the chains are going to add a little bit of stability because they are touching the ground, but for the most part, they're not like bands where they're going to ground us into the ground and they're constantly pulling down. They just deload into the ground, so there's a little bit of difference there. And so if you're really looking for the overload aspect, I would go with chains in terms of using this exercise, where the bands, you can certainly get that, but again, they are going to ground you, so just keep that in mind. And when it comes to setting up the chains, we use easy loaders from Elite FDS. I think these are the best things for chains by far. You can certainly use a regular chain loader where you're just going to hang the chain from here and then hang the heavier 5/8 chain from it. But really, you just clip them on here, and I just got on the first one because of how low this sets. I don't think there's really another option that you want. You definitely don't want the chain hanging from here like this. That doesn't do what we want it to do. So just set it up here, have that at the lowest setting. Train, what do you know? Have it at the lowest setting here and you'll be good. And then if you need to add more chains, then you just constantly clip into there and you can add as many chains as you need. In terms of how much chain you should add, I generally recommend 20 to 25% of whatever your 1 rep max is. So if you happen to be a 300-pound squatter, I would say about 60 to 70 pounds of chain is pretty good. And that's combined in terms of what all you're going to use. Obviously, we know that some of the chains on the ground, so in this case, I would say if in doubt, add an extra chain instead of being low, just because you know part of the chain's always going to be on the ground, at least for someone really short like me. So that's the setup. It seems really complicated, but I promise you got a cambered bar, easy loader, chains. It doesn't take any time at all to set it up. Once we've got it here, I've got the monolith set where it's automatically going to pull. But as I squat, the chain's going to load into the ground, and you'll see that. And as I stand up, you'll see it come off. But otherwise, our squat mechanics are pretty much exactly the same as any other kind of squat. So we're going to be here. I'm going to line my feet up a little bit wider than hip width, get my breath of air, stabilize. And then rack. So for me, that's really, really easy. Definitely not enough chain. And there's actually some other ways you can rig this up to where you get a little more chain. But ideally what we want is we want almost all the chain, or majority of the chain, 80, 90% plus of the chain, to be deloading into the ground. There's not a whole lot left when we're in the bottom. And that's what really kind of lets us accelerate through into the chain and get the overloading effect from the chains as we go through the strength curve. So how would you program this exercise? Against chains, I really love the cambered bar for max effort work. I think it continues to challenge the stability as we talked about. It's also relatively easy to set up. I also think that when it comes to working with any kind of training partners on a max effort day, it's easy just to pull the chains off, add the weights on, and put them back on. Everybody can just run with the same amount of chain, so a weaker lifter might be getting more chain, a stronger lifter might be less, but I mean, for the most part, you're not swapping out bands and all that kind of stuff. So from a training crew perspective, without a doubt, awesome. The other fantastic thing is that by using the chains, again, like I said, the stability component is still there, but you're going to get the overload aspect at the top. And because of the bar challenging your stability, handling more load than you normally could with a straight bar, I think that's great for building mental confidence, the stability at the top of the squat, and then as you go down, they're deloading into the bottom, and that's going to keep everything else feeling good and safe as well. And then the cambered bar benefits on top of just having less shoulder strain and things like that. So again, I think this is great for a max effort option or your heavier training days, singles, doubles, triples, and fives. If it comes down to your dynamic effort work, so let's say you want to do some speed squats with it like this, I think it's completely okay. I think you can have your percentages a little bit higher on this. I think you can go more around 45 to 60% in terms of your waves. I've tried a little bit of everything, and I really think that unless if you're a beginner, I think you can go a little bit heavier on your straight weight percentages for this exercise than you could with your bands, because there is no overspeed eccentric aspect. So that is the cambered bar squat against chains. A lot of good information here, hopefully, to help you out. I really think this is a great way to build your squat. I definitely know, for me personally, my best on this particular variant whenever I was competing, I think it was like 435 for 5, and I think I had about 3 chains on each side. So, I mean, I was moving a lot of weight, and it did a lot for building mental confidence and stability with heavy weights. And this was definitely one of my go-to on my max effort days. For me personally. So if you have any questions about the cambered bar squat against chains, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. Thanks. Have a great day.